I like to spend a few minutes and talk a little bit about what we're trying to do here at Third Eye Workshops. Basically, what we're trying to do ultimately is to elevate consciousness, raise the consciousness. And we're trying to do that by taking a look within us, particularly within our souls. We're going to map the soul, we're going to have a look, a good look of its elements, what's in there, how does it work. And in order to do that, we are going to first take a look at the outer world, because to elevate the consciousness by means of our unconscious, by through the pathway of our soul, our psyche, we also need to look at its opposite, the outer world and the world of consciousness. We're going to break down the elements that are involved in our daily living when we're dealing with the reality, with things that are taking place in the outer world. We're going to become more intimate with the center of our consciousness, with what we know traditionally as our ego. We're going to have a look at its psychological dimension and how its working and its objectives and its function affects us. Because ultimately, the ego is going to be the entity that will have to take a look at itself and take a look at its other part, which is the true self, which is the seat of the unconscious, the center of the unconscious. This is not easy to do, but with some practice and some knowledge and some understanding, it could definitely take place. So we have the ego on one hand that is basically functioning through our senses. It receives the information from the outer world through seeing and hearing and touching and tasting and sensing. And somehow we'll have to interpret it in order to keep us safe and alive in this physical material world. It's capable of reasoning, it's capable of calculating, and all that. Now we're going to ask this entity to go to this other place where it's totally unknown to it. It's heard something about it, but up to a certain point in our lives, the ego doesn't find it necessary to deal with it. Because remember, its primary function is to keep us alive, to keep us coordinated with the outer world. So when we ask for it to take a look at the mysteries of life, at things that are not readily available to our senses, and shut down its vital instruments, the faculty of thinking and feeling and sensing and hearing and all that, and turn to quiet, go into the darkness and study its deeper self, is the major task of our journey. Like I said, uh, it is not going to be easy in the beginning, but it could definitely be done. And what would be really detrimental and instrumental in the beginning would be the commitment, to be willing to dedicate some time to it, and allowing the ego slowly, slowly become comfortable with the part that is totally unfamiliar to it. So, in another way, we can say this. We can say that there is this part of us, this I, that is primarily busy with the reality, with the day to day events of life. And then there is this other part of us, which is eternal, which is not observable, which is not measurable, but it is there. It is our true nature. It is the seed, if you will, that has come with us from this other dimension, from this spiritual place. And we're going to bring these two elements, these two beings together, and make this other I, this other person from it, that is capable of fulfilling its earthly duties and functions with a total commitment to its spiritual side, spiritual part. That's where the harmony is, that's where the peace is, that's where the love, compassion, and empathy is. Within the functioning, within the thinking, within the vocabulary, within the actions of this third person.